Most people experience sports from the stands, the couch, or maybe the sidelines. But behind every game, every event, every team, there's an entire world of strategy, operations, leadership, and business. Sports are not just entertainment, they are a massive industry. And that raises an interesting question. What does it actually take to build a career in that world? Today, we sit down with two faculty members who help students answer that question every day. Dr. Josh Vadeboncoeur and Dr. Gerald Gilsdorf from Gardner-Webb Sports Management Program. They're helping students turn a passion for sports into a profession. So let's get into it. The Bulldog Mindset starts now. Welcome back to the Bulldog Mindset, the podcast where we explore the people, ideas, and experiences that make Gardner-Webb such a special place to learn, teach, and grow. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Pillar, Assistant Provost for Academic Affairs, recording from the Elliott House Podcast Studio on the Gardner-Webb campus here in Boiling Springs. On this podcast, we often talk about the faculty who help shape academic experience for our students, not just through what they teach, but through the mentorship, guidance, and opportunities they create along the way. And today's conversation is a great example of that. Joining me are two faculty members from our sports management programs in the Godbold College of Business, Dr. Josh Vadeboncoeur, an Assistant Professor of Sports Management, and Dr. Gerald Gilsdorf, Professor of Sports Management. Together, they help prepare students for careers in one of the most exciting and competitive industries out there. From marketing and operations to event management, facilities, and leadership roles across the sports world, their work helps students turn a love of sports into a pathway towards meaningful careers. In today's episode, we'll talk about how each of them found their way into sport management, what students actually learn in these programs, and how Gardner-Webb students are preparing to step into the business side of the sports industry. Josh, Jerry, welcome to the Bulldog Mindset.
Great to be here.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Well, let's start with an origin story. I'm curious, what's first sparked for both of you your interest in sports, not just as a fan, but as something more that you could build a career around?
I think that's where most of us kind of develop that love and passion for, at least those of us working on the academic side of sports and sport management. Going through my undergraduate career at University of Florida, I started to transition out of that fan phase into actually seeing what sport truly is, how it operates, just getting a glimpse behind the scenes of that. So for me, I started to see how sport was representative of society in its entirety, if that makes sense. So it's always a good opportunity to at least teach students that, sport is a great laboratory to kind of see how things in society more broadly kind of play out. So obviously all of us being human beings, all of us were bringing all that comes with us into those sports spaces. So it's a great opportunity to really see what's going on in those spaces from that lens. So having that kind of exposed to me in my undergraduate time was a great opportunity, and it kind of piqued my interest to go further with that and see what opportunities there was to actually kind of put that into an academic lens. So I actually found out that there was a thing called sport management. At this point, I was a political science major, so kind of went down that rabbit hole of getting involved with campaigns and policy and affairs and stuff like that, which was exciting at first, but kind of seeing how things happen behind closed doors, you kind of get a little bit turned off from that, which was my case. And luckily enough, sport management was there for me, and kind of went to that, got my master's in sport management. Wasn't sure if I wanted to do the academic side or the industry side. Had some experiences on the industry side and didn't really resonate with me. So I still had a lot of passion in terms of exploring how society and sport kind of intermingle and mesh together. So kind of went into the PhD program in sport management at Florida, and from there was able to start my journey in terms of exploring some of these topics through my research, and obviously the rest was history.
Awesome.
Well, I started actually in coaching as a career. I was an athlete and then had a passion for basketball, and I was mentored by especially a high school basketball coach. So I wanted to get into teaching and coaching. So that was my aim. So I went through my undergrad and went back to that. My goal was to go back to my high school, be the basketball coach, teach physical education and health, and be the athletic director. And I did that. But then we did, our basketball program did exceedingly well, became a state power, and then a position at Wheaton College, Illinois, opened up as a first assistant. So I threw my resume, didn't think I was even going to get a look at anything. Within 2 days, they called me in, and I went. I actually was running our basketball camps, and I run in, and I'm in, I'm thinking, okay. Interview, well, 2 days later, they offered me the job. So,
Wow.
so I was like, well, okay, I guess the Lord has me moving this way. So went to Wheaton College as a first assistant. We did well, turned it around. Then went on to being a head coach at Gordon College. And then that's where I met my wife, but that was a bust. Wasn't a good match for us for what was going on with things. My wife became pregnant. Decided to go back to the high school level because I enjoyed my high school experience. So ended up back in Lakeland, Florida, at Lakeland Christian, because I was part of Christian education. And then from there, when I got back to high school, because I was, separated from high school for about 9 years, the landscape kind of changed. So when I remember coming home, saying to my wife, I don't think I'm going to be at high school for a very long level. And then I had a colleague of mine said, well, you ever thought about if you're going to go back to college level, why don't you get your doctorate? Because I already had my master's at University of Illinois, Chicago, when I was at Wheaton. I completed that. And then, so that's kind of started me in that. And then, well, what should I get it in? Which direction? Well, all the things, when I came through, all the things that we call sport management, we actually did as coaches. Like we had to do the marketing, we had to do the facility operation. We did it all ourselves. And then now they called it sport management. And I remember when I was completing my master's at University of Illinois there, they had a course that we could take electives, and it was in sport management. So I took the course, and I remember we're sitting with all the other coaches and administrators, and we said, wait a minute, we do this every day. What is this? Now it's a separate field. And so anyway, most of us realized that when we left, they would hire a coach, but then they'd also actually hire like a athletic administrator. At that time, it wasn't called sport management, it was athletic administration. And so from there, I was at high school for about 4 years. Then I realized, I need to look for a course. But by that time, we have 3 kids, so I had to look at what they called at that time a distance learning kind of thing. And so there were only 2 programs at the time, and the United States Sports Academy had it, so it was a 50-50. You had to go 50% there, 50%. And that's when I started making the transition. And then when I was ABD, then I moved to the college level at Tusculum for 2 years as ABD. And then I finished my research, and then I was looking for a position at a Christian institution and saw Gardner-Webb had an opening. And that's how I kind of got here. So.
Wow. Well, when you look at other disciplines across the higher ed spectrum, there's a number, and I'll use one of mine as an example, chemistry, where it's not unusual for someone to go through their undergrad, their master's, their doctorate, right into academia and do that. But it seems to me, and based on what both of you said, being a little bit familiar before talking with you about sport management, that this is a discipline that having some experience is critical. Is it technically possible for someone to go through, get an undergrad degree, whether it's in sports management or political science or something relative, a master's, doctorate, and then go right into academia? I guess that's possible, but I get the sense being able to bring that experience into the classroom of what you both have experienced in the world of sports management and doing that has been very important in the program. Can you speak a little bit in terms of that value of for the instructors, for faculty to have that experience, in the program, and what that means for the students?
Well, I don't think you have to be a coach or be an athlete. Like, you didn't have to play. I don't think that's prereq for a good sport management. Yes, I do agree that most individuals who are interested in sport have some type of experience. Maybe it might not be their full time, but they have a passion for it, so they do it. You know, I think with you you have many hats, but podcasting is your passion. Well, the same thing with sport. People get involved. Like even when I was going through and I got out officially, I wasn't being paid full time as a coach, and I was working on my doctorate. And even when I came to Gardner-Webb at first, I still coached on the side. I still, was involved with that. But I do agree that the experience you have out there, because in that time frame, I actually, when I was working on my doctorate, I completed business plans for sport business entities, which really helped me. I also managed a facility for actually a gymnastic in Florida place. So those experiences, it really did help for me. And then with athletic administration and then the coaching, because then you can come in and bring, if you're talking about certain topics, you can say, well, here's my experience with that, or I think that's true, or, maybe not so much. I think that's important. I think it's helped me because I don't have to. I've got millions of examples or to back up whatever we see what the research is saying, but I don't feel like. I think if you're involved with it, those experiences can, and I continue to stay involved. And so even outside of being a professor, whatever, I'm involved with sport. I've not been separated, but that's just because I have a passion for it.
My studies right into academia. So I did have some industry experience through internships, applied experiences, through sports writing during my time in school and studies. But for the most part, my emphasis was on the research side.
Okay.
So with sport management, you're going to have two different camps with the discipline itself. Those that are more so focused on researching a lot of the topics that are driving discussions in terms of theoretical frameworks, developing the field from an academic standpoint. And obviously you have those that are more so kind of segmented in terms of actually being the educators, actually doing the teaching side, if that makes sense. So at the University of Florida, obviously that's more so they're trying to train you to go into the research side of the discipline, which was more so my track in terms of actually getting my hands dirty with how do we actually theorize this field, how do we actually structure it out in terms of frameworks, actually understand what's actually happening in these spaces from an analysis standpoint. Obviously, that's something I still hold very true to myself in terms of trying to be still active with conducting research, especially with some of the topics that I hold dear to me. But for the most part, I do realize the importance of extending beyond that, outside of just being a pure researcher, actually getting to the classroom, getting your hands dirty that way in terms of actually seeing how this plays out and how you can actually impart that wisdom to the students itself, which has been a blessing to me, having had the opportunity to be here at Gardner-Webb, especially coming from a giant state school like a Florida where you're going to get some good training and you're going to have some good experiences, but for the most part, you can get lost in the shuffle very easily. And if you're a faculty, if you're so bogged down by research, you don't have time to really prioritize and focus on the student and what they need from a holistic standpoint. So being here these past few years has really allowed me to kind of rethink through my wiring as an academic and really see the value in prioritizing the teaching components of what we're doing as a field, because a lot of times we can get so lost in the shuffle of being in the ivory tower and doing research when a lot of times we kind of lose sight of what's truly important, which is the classroom in front of us. So having the opportunity to teach here, interact with students on a one-on-one level and actually have that relationship, build that relationship has been monumental for me. In a lot of ways informs my scholarship too, in terms of thinking through what truly matters, informing how I should go about my thinking too.
Okay.
Well, go ahead.
Well, but if you go to his office, you'll see NASCAR all over the place. So so he can bring in NASCAR because, he's a fanatic with it. But anyway, just to say.
I mean, to speak to that, that's been I guess being here has allowed me to get back in touch with the industry. So I've been trying to make a lot of efforts, just trying to build bridges with the NASCAR, the stock car community here, since it's in our
Well,
backyard.
especially it's in our backyard. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's been something that we've been trying to do at least more intentionally, at least into the classroom, is building bridges with the industry and trying to give students experiential learning opportunities. So, for example, in our sport marketing class, the past 2 semesters we've offered it, we've actually partnered with some race teams to actually have students know what it means to actually get direction and know how to actually put together a strategic marketing plan that's actually informed by real needs from the industry. Having the opportunity to actually come together, present it in front of industry professionals, get some feedback, and know what it means to actually follow directions from a professional standpoint, and obviously have something that's tangible that they can actually demonstrate when it comes time to actually apply for jobs, something to put on their resume to actually say that we actually created a marketing plan for an actual race team. So at the very least, I've been able to at least bring in that aspect of trying to at least forge industry connections, I suppose.
We also did a marketing thing for Atlanta, the Atlanta Dream.
Yep,
also.
we did. Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
Yep, that was our first pilot run
Yeah.
with that project. So, yeah.
Well, before we dive even deeper into specifically Gardner-Webb and our programs, I guess another question in general about sports management is, I'm sure there's many reasons why students choose sports management as a degree to study and pursue as a major. And often that comes from loving sports. But loving sports and working in sports are sort of two different things. What do you try to help students understand, particularly early on, when they come into the sports management field? Because I also assume a little bit, again, being in the sciences and teaching foundation courses in chemistry, we had a lot of students who were pre-med. And so they come in with a mind frame of what that is. And there's definitely a degree of level setting for that. But I'm curious from your experiences, what's a key part of that first year for a new sports management student?
Well, I think it's the same way as if I'm out there and people ask me, hey, what do you do? And I say, well, I'm a professor in sport management. Well, I say I teach sport management. First thing they say is, hey, how's the football team doing?
Yeah.
Well, they don't get it. That's
Yeah.
not sport management. Well, it could be. It's part of sport management,
Could
but
be.
they don't understand that that's sport management. And a lot of students, I think, come in, they have a passion for sports, like you say, but they don't know, like in your opening monologue, it's true. They don't know that what happens behind the scenes and all the things that, what's going on with the marketing, with operations and facilities, and even the administrative side and the fundraising and everything from that to concessions to parking to all the they're clueless because they've been on the field, so they've been kind of catered to. So I think a lot of that, I know in principles we have to almost define it. Do you understand what sport management? Is it sports with an S, or is it sport management? And it's sport with no S. Why? Because it's all inclusive. It's anything that has to do with marketing, promotion, and facilitating sport. It's sport.
Sport.
Because sports is, we don't teach you about sports,
Yeah.
right? That's not what
Yeah.
the degree is. It's the business side
Of sport.
of sport.
Yeah.
So that's, believe it or not, they're clueless until they, so I'm like, okay, so tell everybody your degree is sport management, not sports, or you're not here, we're not going to teach you about sports, right? Anyway, so.
Yeah.
Well, but before we get too far in, jumping into about the program, I think this is a good segue into a special segment that we like to call the hidden curriculum. And this is where I'd love to dive into things that the average person may not realize, or the items sometimes that are inherent in a program, but it's not necessarily clearly written in a policy, syllabus, or whatnot. So for sport management, what's one thing about working in the sports industry that people outside of it don't realize at all, or don't realize until they're actually in a space to see it?
I think the biggest perception from the inside, even the outside, is sport, or working in sport is glamorous. There's a certain level of prestige or glamour, and there certainly can be at a certain point, but most jobs that students are going to be interacting with at an internship level or entry level position, it's going to be a lot of work. It's a lot of grunt work, long hours, might require you to travel a lot. So you're definitely going to be working long hours typically throughout the week, doing tasks that you probably didn't anticipate that you're going to end up having to do in that position. And I think typically most people perceive like, oh, you're going to be working in the front office of a professional sports team, which very well could be the end goal for a lot of students, but there's only so many opportunities to do so. There's only so many professional sports teams and leagues out there, and it's going to take some time and effort to actually get there, which hopefully that could be the end goal, but for the most part, you're going to have to start out with some grunt work in terms of getting entry-level positions, internships, and I think a lot of students, for no fault of their own, don't realize there's a lot of levels to sport. There's a lot of opportunities at the collegiate level, whether it's a university, a small college. There's hundreds, if not even more, of opportunities across all different levels of collegiate athletics. You have a lot of minor league, which is still professional sport, but there's a lot of minor leagues out there for a lot of different sports. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, and kind of like Dr. Gilsdorf was talking about, across all different disciplines, whether you want to work in the finance office, the compliance office, the marketing office, operations, so on and so forth.
Community rec. I mean, that's
yeah.
huge, you know, for people don't realize it. They don't see it.
And I think with a lot of students, I think because of that outside perception that, you know, I need to be shooting for that executive level position in the pro sports team, or I need to be a sports agent, that's anything outside of that is going to be less than ideal, or it's going to be perceived as, you know, I'm not trying hard enough, or it's not representative of me being successful. But, you know, with anything in life, you have to work your way up there. If you look across the board at most athletic directors, I mean, they started off in the ticket office, most likely a lot of them, and they worked their way up because they put their head down and did hard work and strategized, and before you know it, you know, you were able to not get away, but develop soft skills, hard skills that allowed you to be recognized, and you worked your way up to get where you want to be. So
one of the things I'm hearing as you describe that is someone who's majoring in sport management, there's still a degree, I would say, it sounds like, of flexibility where, whether it's through their internships or other experiences, because like you said, you know, early on, especially if you want to learn all aspects of sport management, that, you know, if they're learning marketing, if they're learning other aspects of operations, that if they ever did want to pivot, like they're not pigeonholed into just sport. They could go into other aspects of business, and vice versa. If someone's gotten, and we'll get into this a little bit later with the grad program and the undergrad program, if someone has a background in business or communications, and they have a very strong foundation but want to pivot into sport management, it sounds like they, you know, have a good point. So overall, I guess my point in this, maybe that's not so much a question, but I guess the question is, you know, does that kind of flexibility, is that there? Do you see that happen with students where maybe they venture away from sport management into more management or other aspects, and vice versa? People come into it from other aspects of business, communications, education.
Well, let me back up a little bit with what we said before. We're talking about a little bit before what Dr. V was talking about. What students need to understand, and people need to understand, when you're off sport management, you're on. And those hours are ungodly. I mean, if you have, let's say, baseball, and you have fireworks night, you're going to be there till 2, 3 in the morning picking up all the you know, leftovers from the fireworks show or whatnot. And what he said is actually correct. The hours are very long, and especially in baseball. How about back-to-back home games? Well, guess what? You're working 14-hour days, maybe 16-hour days, back-to-back. Now there's comp time, but so that's a reality. You have to be willing to work. Also, it's a servant. It really comes back to a servant type field. because you have to be willing to serve these individuals who are you want the returns, so you want them to keep buying tickets and have a great experience and do whatever. So you better bend over backward for that residual that they're coming back. Anyway, so that's just for what on top of what Dr. V already talked about. But what we try to tell our students, what you just asked, is that sport management is a broad umbrella. And the way the curriculum was developed was that you have your gen ed, and then you have common components that are attached. That's why we're in the business department, because they're business type. And you alluded to this before a little bit. But they're sports specific. And that's what really, if you look at our curriculum, they're all sports specific courses. Now, with that umbrella, and one of the things that we teach, even in principles when getting into it, because a lot of people or students come in and say, yeah, I want to be in sport. Well, what do you want to do? I have no idea. And I'm saying, well, that's good. That's perfectly okay, and that's fine. So, but it's important to understand, that umbrella. So the curriculum's designed then that you can, here's the basis, but then you minor in the area that you're, like if you want to go into communication or something like that, then minor in communications. Okay, well then minor in business administration or management, or minor in finance, or minor in marketing, because it is a broad umbrella, and you have to, in community rec, there's a lot of students that like to get into community rec. Great. Well, then you might want to look at some coaching or PE classes, because you're going to have to be working with the youth and youth sports and whatnot. That might be something, and we can then shape it around what their interest is. I can market and do it. But you get out there and you realize, do you know what the pressure is time and day that you have to come up with new things? And guess what? Oh, they just traded your best player. But you still got to market it, this product. Yeah. Good luck, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. So, but then you decide, I want to get out. Well, the major allows you to move within the industry. You can go into administration, you can go into operations, and the degree allows that for. So that kind of flexibility kind of gets like the students to relax a little bit and say, okay, well, this is what I have passion for right now. Look at me. Hey, I never thought I'd be a professor. I never thought I'd manage a sport facility. I never thought I would, I was going to be just a basketball coach. That's what I wanted to be. Well, the major allows that you can move within and out of the industry, and that's what's great about it.
Well, this has been a great conversation so far about sport management, the field, and how students preparing in this field for careers in that world. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll continue the conversation with Dr. Josh Vadeboncoeur and Dr. Gerald Gilsdorf, more about Gardner-Webb students and our programs, and what is most exciting and competitive about this industry out there. More to come.
At Gardner-Webb University, college is more than just classes. It's community. A living learning community, or LLC, gives first-year students the opportunity to live together, take classes together, and grow together, all while building friendships that last far beyond freshman year.
It's just more about building community, and that is something that really matters here at Gardner-Webb.
Research shows students in living learning communities experience stronger campus belonging.
It gave me kind of like a sense of belonging and people to surround myself with.
Living learning communities not only help with the transition to GWU, but set students up for success moving forward.
It's a really nice way just to get connected with people with similar interests, people trying to pursue similar goals.
At Gardner-Webb, the living learning communities offered each year are based on student interest and enrollment. Each community connects you with faculty mentors, specialized programming, and students who share your passions.
We all come together, we spend time with each other, making sure everybody's okay. We're really a tight-knit community.
Whether you're leading service projects, exploring your faith, performing on stage, or diving deeper into academics, there's a place for you. Living learning communities help you maximize your first year both academically and socially. Find your community and become more at Gardner-Webb University.
Welcome back to the Bulldog Mindset. I'm Greg Pillar, Assistant Provost for Academic Affairs, coming to you from the historic Elliott House here at Gardner-Webb University. Today I'm joined today by Dr. Josh V. and Dr. Gerald Gilsdorf from Gardner-Webb Sports Management Program. So let's dive deeper into the Gardner-Webb programs, and I say programs plural because we have both an undergrad and graduate program. So both of you have already talked a bit about aspects of our programs, but could you go a little deeper into a little bit of what the Gardner-Webb undergrad sport management program is and what it's like, and the graduate program?
Yeah, well, the undergrad program is designed, as we stated a little earlier, as a specialized business degree. So the courses that we offer are sport specific, and so with that, we try to look at our courses, and if you compare us to other schools, we're pretty robust in that. If you look at other schools, they're in other different disciplines. If you look at Elon, they're under the communication department. Others are under athletics. Well, we're under the School of Business. But with that, we looked in each one of our courses. They're sport specific, but then it's an applied major. It's one of those majors where you if you're just going to sit there and look at learn theory, you're missing it. It has to be applied. So. Dr. V talked about what's going on in marketing. Well, they don't just learn the theory of marketing and all the different aspects of it for sport marketing, which is different than just general marketing. They apply it, and they have to apply it. And then what that does, though, it puts something on the resume, because our courses, we look to use those experiences, those real-world learning experiences, and so that they can look across the table when they're looking at job interviews to say, oh yeah, I have had experience in event management. Well, in our facility event management class, we actually run the Cleveland County Senior Games. So we actually run an event. So with our curriculum, so we look for in our courses, our core courses, to say, all right, how can we do things in which they can put things on their resume that are legit, that they can talk about. Yes, I didn't just learn about the theory or what's going on in the research in this area. I actually took it and I applied it, and actually, I actually did it, kind of thing, and those kind of experiences. So that's how we look at not only taking just a general marketing class. No, you take a specific sport marketing class. Why? Because it's targeting in the sport field, and we do that with all of our classes. So.
Yeah, I mean, that whole experiential learning component is very important for us because obviously that's what sets us apart in a lot of ways, because it's easy to just lecture about theory and frameworks, but a lot of the theory and the frameworks that we read about, that we hear about, aren't always a reflection of the reality in the industry. So at the very least, what is a reflection of what's happening in the industry is actually getting experience with it at the end of the day, getting their hands dirty, getting their feet wet. So at the end of the day, it's all about giving them not just soft skills, but the hard skills to actually take with them into those job interviews, whether it's for an internship, entry-level jobs, so on and so forth. Again, going back to sport marketing, an earlier question that we addressed in terms of, sport management has that built-in flexibility in the sense that sport as an ecosystem is very flexible. It's very unique in the fact that the main product that you're trying to push or trying to work with is obviously going to be very intangible. And if you're dealing with a product that's very intangible, you have to get very creative. You have to be very unique. You have to be on it in the sense of we need to be strategic at the end of the day, not just in terms of understanding our value as an organization in sport, but how do we actually let people buy into that value? So it's conversations like that we try to at least build into each of our classes to really let students know that what you're working with or what you're about to work with in sport is going to be challenging. But if you're strategic, you know how to market in sport, if you know how to operate within sport, if you know how to navigate sport in so many different ways, those are tangibles and intangibles that can be in your toolbox for any other line of industry, at least in my opinion. So if you can market in sport and know how to actually go about that business, you're going to be well positioned to market in any discipline in the industry ecosystem, in my opinion.
What are some examples you can give of not necessarily the exact employer, but types of jobs that some of our graduates have gone on to, whether they're entry level or after some time have eventually moved into?
Well, that kind of ties into how they're getting these positions with going back to the curriculum too, because it used to be in undergrad sport management, you took your courses and then you did your major internship. You can't do that now. You're not going to be successful out there. So as Dr. V is saying, we can adjust. So we've developed actually another smaller on-campus internship in which, because sport management, we have to get them ready almost a year ahead of time, because for them to go get their major internship, and in our program, that's a 450-hour internship. So that's pretty much, it's a 30-hour week type of thing you're going to complete. That's significant. So we need to have them ready for that. And what's going on in the marketplace is that you have to have multiple experience. You just can't have one. They've got to have multiple experience. And if you think about it, most of our students are athletes. Well, they're Division I athletes, and so we have to work that into the curriculum so that they can still be part of their sport and get these experience also. Now, with that, for them to get jobs or internships, see, our students can compete on teamwork.com, which is they post all the current jobs that are going on and internships. Well, our students go on there, compete, and actually get them. So we've had a student who went on there for the Atlanta Dream, and she got out of 250,000, she got the internship.
Oh, wow.
So, but that's because of our curriculum, because she's had so many experiences. She's real world experience, and she was able to look across the table and say, "Oh yeah, no, I did this. Yeah, nope, I have this mark. Yep, for event planning, yes, I did this." And to the point that they actually wanted us to come down, and we actually talked with them a little bit about, because they were so impressed with her.
Oh,
So
wow.
we took a trip down, and so with
That's
their
quite the
marketing team.
endorsement.
Yeah, so that's what the curriculum. That's how strong it is. So we had an individual for the Hornets, same thing, competed for the executive office to get an internship there. And so he competed against, nationwide and got it. So that goes back to our internship program. So if you look, which is posted on the website, all the different sites that they are going to, you can. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We had one individual who sounds kind of strange, but he was into equipment management. And so, but he wanted to do that. So he actually, I had to tell professors, okay, his internship, he's flying around for the preseason with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's going to be a little late coming back to school because he's completing his internship. So our students are out there to getting those kind of, top notch, but they can compete with teamwork on teamwork.com, and because of the curriculum, they're able to get those kind of internships, and then which then opens, and then 80% of hires for sport is from their internship program. So that's why the internship program is key. So if you look at our internship program, and I put it out there right away for our intro classes, because hey, here's what's gone before you. And so I've been here 16 years, and we've been building this internship program to where do you want to go? And you pick it. You can pick. And the great thing about it is that even if you don't see something in there you like, we can, like what Dr. V was saying, we can adjust it so you can get there. So where do you want to go? And that's what's fun about the program, is seeing them. Oh yeah, well he's in professional, for hockey now, and so I get to go to games, and I get to go for free and go see. No, so there are perks. And then Atlanta Dream, that's great. So I go down there every year, and we meet, and I go to her game and stuff like that. And anyway, but I try not to too much not to take advantage of that. But that's what's fun about it, just to see those students that they come and they think, here I am. I'm at a small school. What can I do? Yeah. Can I really get there? And the answer is, yeah, you can. But you got to dream a little bit. But you better work. And the individuals that got those positions, they were hustling. They were doing it. So that's what's fun about the program, is that you name it, what area you want to get into, pretty much you can look at our internship program. Someone's already been there now and paving the way. So we're at that stage now of growth that we can just call somebody and they can get in, which is kind of fun.
Now, what about the graduate program? Do you, for that program, are those a lot of students who did their undergrad in sport management and are looking to further advance? Do you have is it a good mix of students who their undergrad degrees in something else, and this is their segue into the industry?
It's both, really. It's interesting. When I came here, the thought was that they wanted to do a master's and an undergrad. And I was even asked, what are we going to do first? And I said, well, the first thing we need to do is the undergrad, because a good undergrad program will should feed the master's program. But then it was a long delay before we got going with the master's. And so now it's just lately our master's program been going, it's 5 years now. It's been, so it's relatively young, but now we're starting to see a lot more of our undergrad. But at first we didn't. There was maybe one, two, now we see 3 or 4, coming in. But the master's level is geared for anybody who has, because we talked about that broad umbrella, right? Mm-hmm. Well, so if anyone who has an undergrad program really in an accredited area and they want to get into sport, they can get in, and that's how. So it's very inclusive. So actually, because the classes are online, so if you see the interaction with them, it's kind of interesting because they're coming from different walks, which you really want, as they're studying sport. So that's what's really fun, I think, is for the master's level. But it's those that are trying to get to not mid-management, they want to get to upper management. And they're trying to, that's what they're after. And so they need the credentials. So.
Well, it's amazing how fast 30, 40 minutes can just cruise right by. And so, this has been a great conversation, and I have a feeling we'll be asking you guys to come back to talk more. But as we do look to wrap up, there's a few questions I'd like to ask all our guests. And the first one being, when you think about your role at Gardner-Webb and in the sport management programs, what do you hope to leave? What do you most hope to leave your students?
I guess for me, I just want students to take a moment to really deconstruct the way that they think. So one of my elementary school teachers used to always say, let's think about our thinking at the end of the day. So let's pull back the layers of any assumptions, any preconceived notions that we have, whether about sports, ecosystem, or just any kind of topic in life. If they can at least sit down and really self-assess why they think in the way that they do and come to an understanding of where that's coming from, that will do them wonders in terms of being able to take any level of information or insights and filter it out in a strategic way, especially in terms of building that career towards sport. So if I can at least help them kind of deconstruct their thought process, that's one thing. At the other end, I at least want to make sure that my students are professionally prepared. So they understand that each year of their time here at Gardner-Webb that there's certain milestones that you probably need to be thinking about and probably meeting. And from day one, start being strategic. Obviously, you don't jump in the pool all at once, but, slowly but surely, we're going to build you up to a point where when it comes time for you to go out there and start your career, then you'll be professionally ready. You'll be confident. You'll be cool, calm, and collected and poised to represent yourself and obviously more broadly represent our program here. So obviously that's a lot of moving parts there, but at the very least, just making sure that students are self-aware, students know how to think, and they know how to carry themselves professionally.
Yeah, I would agree with Dr. V, but with that, I'll say we talked about the curriculum, we talked about all these experiences, but now let's analyze that under the lens of the scriptures. Now, what does that look like? And there's many challenging things, because if you look at a lot of things that are going on with sport, that contradicts what the scripture says. So now what do you do with that as a believer? So you're a believer out there. You say, yeah, I want to honor and serve Christ, and yeah, he's my Lord and Savior. But now here, and it's almost like even as an athlete, do you have to separate your walk and your faith when you go on the field because of all the things that are going on? Do you have to do that in the workplace? And the answer is no, you can't. No, you don't, and no, you shouldn't, because then you're being hypocritical, right? And it used to me, I think people try to separate that. Well, I'm at work now, so I act a certain way or do it. No. And so what I want to leave the impression is, okay, what does that look like? What are you doing? Is it honoring and pleasing to the Lord with what you're doing? And then, which means, guess what? You're going to have to grapple with some problems, some serious issues, and then you're going to have to function in a certain way but can you, the apologetics, can you defend why you believe and function the way you do spiritually as it applies to sport? That's what I like to see them left with.
Well, and not completely unrelated, a little bit of a similar light, but if both of you could go back to your first year college selves, with the knowledge you have now, with the experience you have now, with the beliefs you have now, what would you tell them?
I'd say, watch out. You don't know if the Lord might have you do, because you're sitting there thinking one thing and he might have something different. But no, the thing is, you dream.
Yeah.
Dream. There's no. If you think I want to be a major league baseball manager, dream. I mean, dream. Go for it. Go after it. Chase it. Don't sit back. Dream big and go for it.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of encapsulates it right there. I guess more specifically, don't overthink things. Mm-hmm. If you have questions, ask them. If faculty are there in their office, go have a conversation with them. Go have conversations with people. Know how to network. I think there's so many times in my undergraduate studies where I was just very apprehensive, very reserved, didn't want to ruffle feathers or ask those questions. But, there's resources, there's people out there that are willing to help you, that want to help you, that know how to help you. So if I could at least sit myself back down again, I would at least tell myself, just calm down, take it easy, take a deep breath, and have some confidence in yourself to at least ask those questions, put yourself out there. Like you said, actually take some time to dream and actually see as though or believe that dream can actually be a reality. Not that we haven't realized some dreams in our lives, but there's always ways that you could have gone about things better, and I think that's where you can start at least. Just don't overthink it.
Awesome. Well, thank you both, Dr. Gilsdorf and Dr. V. Thank you for taking the time today to talk to us, and I definitely learned a little bit more about sport management, so I hope our listeners did as well. Mm-hmm. Well, as we wrap up today's episode, what I appreciate about conversations like this is the reminder that behind every program, every course, every student experience, there are faculty who are investing their time, their knowledge, often their networks to help students find their path. For many students, sport management begins with a love of the game, but what Dr. Gilsdorf and Dr. V helped them help unfold was that they helped them to discover that the world of sports is much bigger than what happens on the field. It's strategy, it's leadership, it's operations, communications, and a little bit of faith. And for the students who lean into those opportunities, it can also open doors to careers that may not have even been imagined when they first arrive on campus. That's part of what we hope to do with conversations like this on the Bulldog Mindset. Yes, we love highlighting the great work happening here at Gardner-Webb, but we also want to help students better understand the opportunities in front of them and support faculty and staff who are working every day to help them succeed. So again, thank you to the both of you for joining the podcast today and for the work that you're doing to prepare the next generation of leaders in the sport industry. And to our listeners, thank you for spending part of your day with us. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the Bulldog Mindset wherever you listen to podcasts. You can always learn more about Gardner-Webb at gardner-webb.edu, about our programs such as sports management, as well as the many other programs we have here. And of course, a big thank you to the person who makes all this sound far more professional than it probably should, our producer, Noel Manning. Noel's the reason these conversations make it from the microphones here in the Elliott House to your speakers, headphones, or car stereo without me accidentally leaving in all the times I stumble over my own words. And remember, whether you're in the classroom, workplace, or the community, success is almost always a team effort. That's the Bulldog Mindset. So long, everybody.